upon a time, a long time ago, somebody came up with some good ideas, some interesting information, and they thought, you know what, I'd like to remember this. I think I better write it down. And so we had this technology for keeping and passing on information. Scrolls. Now, it worked, but kind of difficult. And you can see this one falling apart, maybe not the optimal. So we moved on as time went on, and someone came up with the idea, well, we don't need to hold that thing on one long scroll. We can break it up and make pages, and we'll have a book. Actually, it's a medieval Bible, and some of these books are beautiful, gorgeous. Think of all the time and the effort it took to make one. How few of these books there could be to keep everyone's information. Later, the printing press, and suddenly books could be produced in large numbers, and individuals, could even accumulate their own repositories of information and knowledge, libraries. But look at that picture. This was not for poor people. Even at this time, books were expensive. Knowledge was precious. Now, however, things have changed. Recently, we've been doing a little house cleaning and been trying to get rid of some books. Hey, you try to get rid of books these days. Nobody wants them. Right? Books have become so cheap, so ubiquitous. They're everywhere. You can't even give them away. Try to bring them to a charity shop. Take it back. And then the internet. You don't even need a physical book anymore. Right there, every single one of you on your phone. You can take out your phone right now. Don't take out your phone. Actually, please, you'll get the wrong idea. But you could, hypothetically speaking, take out your phone and have all the knowledge that's in those libraries, in all those books. We move on to AI. We not only got human produced knowledge and information, but supposedly creative, brand new combinations of those words and those thoughts. Now, this sounds wonderful, but the truth is, for many of us, this is overwhelming. We have more information, we have more knowledge than we could ever want or frankly ever. We actually now need ways to keep information out rather than bring it in. We get some great advice on this. If you go to the lectionary this week, there's one of the passages that was not read today. It's from the book of Proverbs, Proverbs chapter 9, verse 6. Well, the writer of Proverbs has some great advice for us in a complex world. The writer says, leave your simple ways. Well, actually, that's not our problem anymore, is it? Leave your simple ways and you will live. Walk in the way of insight. Well, thank you very much, writer of Proverbs. We would like to walk in the way of insight, wouldn't we? We would like to be able to sift and organize and prioritize all of that information, all of that knowledge, and use our insight to apply it, to help us make decisions, to help us know what to do, where to go. In fact, we would like it to help us be wise, to have wisdom. How do we do this? Well, some of us say, that sounds like a lot of effort. I'm going to look to somebody else. I'm going to look to somebody who's really, who can be kind of an example for me. Some of us, who are into sports, maybe this is kind of a bro thing, but these days, women as well in the Olympics, we look to athletes. We say, here is someone who has optimized everything that they have been given, and they have excelled. I'll look to this person for advice. Or we look to musicians, pop stars. When I first came to Hong Kong, I found it amazing the culture of following concert, buying all the merchandise, waiting outside in the rain to have one glimpse. But then, who's playing in London this week? What's her name? Taylor or somebody? Right? And she now shifts old times because her impact is so big. And you wonder, well, why people do this? Well, it's a way to organize your life. It's a way to help you look to someone and say, here is someone who knows how to live. I will follow his or her example. I will push aside all the things that are irrelevant. I will follow. I will know how to organize my life. I will know what to do. It could be movie stars, or these days even movie characters. You see the cosplayers out there, right? Organizing their lives around not even an actor, and then what? Saving this one for last. The politicians. The Bible warns us, do not put your trust in princes. But many of us hang our hopes and our dreams on the next election. If only the right candidate will win, then things will finally be put right. Surely these are people to whom we can outsource our need for wisdom. Surely they know better and can tell us what to do. Well, I'll let you answer that one for yourselves. Just let's linger a moment. That's a younger Joe there. That Boris is still having a bad hair day. Let's move on. Let's move on. Here's an interesting thought. In the quest to deal with all of this incoming in our lives, there is a new trend that I read about recently. It's young people when they want to go on holiday. I'm talking about people in their 20s. I like to do trip planning. And if you do trip planning, you go out on the internet, there is so much information. Right? It's kind of fun. But a lot of them are saying, I don't want to deal with all of that. So they have started going back to travel agents. Travel agents. I thought travel agents were going to be gone. Internet, they're coming back because people are saying, I just want to go to someone and say, I'd like to take a holiday. You make the decisions for me. Tell me where I should go, how many days, how I should travel, what hotels I should stay in, what restaurants I should go to. Just want to do all of this. We all do this in our daily lives because this is how we get through the day. All of us, all of us look for ways to filter out the incoming, to try to pick out what is important and prioritize it. That is our day-to-day life. So as we try to make sense of our own realities, we end up using filters. We end up using worldviews that are imposed on us, and we have a tendency to just accept. I'd like to read you a quotation from this is a writer. He's not a Christian writer. His name's Freddie DeBoer. He's American. He's kind of a cultural critic. He says, these filters that we put on our lives, he calls them ideologies. It means the same thing. He says, ideology refers to those beliefs you do not examine because you do not see them as beliefs at all. Ideology isn't a matter of adjusting arguments about better or worse, right or wrong, and evaluating them to determine your own beliefs. Ideology is fundamentally the unexamined framework of the system through which you perform such an evaluation, the part you can't and don't see. Here's the bottom line. It's assumptions that you cannot understand as assumptions. It's a filter you're putting on the input in your life that you don't even realize is a filter. Freddie DeBoer is American. And he says, here's an example he gives of one of those filters that people use. We could call this filter something like, maybe I'm taking care of my own emotional health. Or, in short, me first. Because this is what he sees in himself. And he says, here are some of those assumptions that until I forced myself to see them, I didn't even realize I was imposing on my own life. Here are some of those assumptions. You, your feelings, your goals are always preeminent. And in any conflict, they supersede those of others. You are entitled to total and complete emotional safety at all times. And this entitlement supersedes the rights and desires of others. That which makes you feel better is that which is the right thing to do. You argue, they gaslight. You have self-respect, they are narcissists. You are still growing, they are toxic. You have boundaries, they have limitations. That's a worldview. That's a filter that helped Freddie DeBoer make sense of his life. He said, now I realize this may be a problem. Because here is the kind of thing that worldview leads to. This is a different non-Christian writer. This is from a featured article in the New York Times. I'm not going to say who wrote it. Actually, I really don't want to. It's written as a featured article. I'll just read it. There was no emotional or physical abuse in our home. There was no absence of love. I was in love with my husband when we got divorced. Part of me is in love with him. I suspect that will always be the case. I divorced my husband, not because I didn't love him. I divorced him because I loved myself more. There you see the results of someone living by that filter, making decisions based on those kind of assumptions. That is what the world in 2021 has to offer. You might say, that's not my thing. I'm not really worried about my emotional health. I'm not doing this me first thing. But there are filters in our lives. It might be financial security, career success. That can be a filter that shapes and guides our decisions in our lives. It could be saving the world through politics or through activism. It could be fame, reputation, prestige. That the point is, they're there. So what is our reaction to this? Do we accept these filters that the world offers us to be wise? Well, I've been pounding on the 21st century. This is not a new problem. St. Paul wrote about this extensively. He says in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, do not deceive yourselves. If any of you think you are wise by the standards of this age, you should become fools so that you may become wise. The wisdom of this world is foolishness. Put away those worldly pleasures. Take on the eyes of God, the eyes of Jesus. So is this easy? Of course not. It is the essence. It is the key struggle of our Christian lives. To see the world a little more clearly. And it's also hard because what is more foolish than putting our trust in these symbols? A baby in a manger, a man dying on the cross. That new song we sang today, The Perfect Wisdom. The lyrics sum it magnificently. And oh, the mystery of the cross, that God should suffer for the lost, so that the fool might shame the wise, and all the glory goes to Christ. But this vision constantly is in conflict with the world's vision, the world's wisdom, the world's assumptions, the world's filters. In the passage that Mary read for us from the the Gospel of John. We've been continuing this series of readings on Jesus as the bread of life. And Jesus is trying to explain what that means to the people around him. He is saying, look, this is true wisdom. This is the truth. This is the way. This is my body broken. This is my blood spilled. You need to eat that blood. Drink that blood. And the people around him, we read in verse 52, the Jews began to argue sharply among themselves. How can this be? How can this be wisdom that this man gives us his flesh to eat? How many of the dietary laws does that break? This shatters our way of making sense of the world. It is very easy for us to underestimate, to forget just how incredibly bold the message that Jesus brought to his people really was. How immensely countercultural it was to the world. Eat my body, drink my blood. If we actually stop and listen to those words ourselves, even today, it's quite shocking. But that is the wisdom that God gives to us. Our passage from Ephesians today picks up on this theme. Paul is writing to the church of Ephesus to try to help them to understand what kind of filters may be affecting their lives and what they should put off and take on to make more sense of their reality. He says, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Well, we may think our days are evil, but those days were evil too. Therefore, do not understand what the Lord's will is. And Paul, very oddly then, it may seem to us, in verse 18, he singles in on just one thing. He says, do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Out of all the sins, that he could have mentioned here, all the horrible things that people can do and do to each other, he says, don't get drunk. Remember to whom Paul is writing. He is writing to the church in Ephesus. Ephesus was a big city, it was a busy city, people from all over, and at the heart of Ephesus was a huge temple to God's artist. And people would come far and wide to worship there. And the worship there would involve just what Paul is talking about: drunken debauchery, orgies. This was built into the very day-to-day life of Ephesus. Its religion, its culture, its economy. So Paul is saying, here, look, this is your filter, you Ephesians. Put it away. Put it away. This is not how you are to live. This is not your ideology. Instead of getting drunk on wine, instead be filled with the Spirit, speaking to one another with psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit. Sing and make music from your heart to the Lord. Beautiful verses. Absolutely. This is what your celebrations should look like. Don't be filled with wine, but with the Spirit. And Paul here, he's talking not just about worship services. He is talking about a whole way of life. As the Spirit fills you, your joy will overflow into worship of God. And music, song, singing will flow out from your heart. It is a language of prayer and worship. He says, it's interesting. He says, speak to one another. Not just praise God with songs and hymns and spiritual songs. Speak to one another with this. It is a language. It is a way of life. A way of joy in our redemption. Life together as the church of Christ's body. I'm really looking forward to that series on the church. What it means to be together, to worship together, to closes this passage with not just this language of song and of joy, but also always giving thanks to God the Father forever in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. If you get rid of that worldly filter, take on the heavenly filter, you will find that you're overwhelmed. This is a life of thankfulness, not of resentment of what we haven't got, that we think we deserve, but instead thanks for our salvation, for our joy in life with Christ. Your way of seeing the world, Paul says, you Ephesians, you people here at home, your way of seeing the world will make you wise. You will understand who made the world. You will understand who upholds the world, who redeems the world, and you will respond with thankfulness. So, brothers and sisters, anybody out there looking for some wisdom today to deal with this incredibly complex, bewildering, and in some ways evil world in which we live? Take comfort, at least. You're not the first ones to do so, and you're not going to be the last. I encourage you, look inward, but don't look inward too much. Look inward, but also and think hard about what your filters are, what your assumptions are. How are you making sense of your reality as you try to deal with your day-to-day life? Do your filters come from New York Times? Do they come from Wembley Stadium or the White House? Do they come from the Word of our Lord? We are followers of Jesus, so it's His wisdom. It may look to the world like foolishness, but we know better. It is light, it is hope, it is salvation, it is life itself. I pray that we may all seek wisdom today in all the days of our lives. To Jesus our Lord, glory forever and ever. We're going to stand and sing now another song that is